Draft day then, and I just want to get something off my chest before the draft kicks off. And look, let me know what you think about this in the comment section. I've read 2 mock drafts today that Daniel Jeremiah and Dane Brugler that had Terrion Arnold, the Alabama cornerback, go to the Seahawks. I read another mock draft that had Nate Wiggins go in there. Jeremiah says that he made that pick, which had not been talked about up until this week, because he'd heard that the Seahawks were doing a lot of work on cornerbacks. I sincerely hope that this is just all a great ruse, great bit of misdirection from the Seahawks, akin to what we should hope to expect from Mike Macdonald's defense next season, to try and persuade those teams. You know, I'm talking about you, Philadelphia, and maybe you, Green Bay, and maybe you, Detroit Lions, and some of these other teams that want to take a quarterback in the draft. You may well take one. So if you don't want to miss out, you've got to trade up to number 16 with the Seahawks. I sincerely hope that's what this is, because I get the best player available approach, and I think it's the sensible approach to have. But you can't tell me that Terrion Arnold or Quinion Mitchell or Nate Wiggins or Kool-Aid McKinstry are that much better than Jared Verse, Chop Robinson, Leatu Latu, whoever, Troy Fatanu, Talies Fuaga, Graham Barton, Darius Robinson. I'm just not buying it. The idea that the Seahawks would have, and they'd have to have, a significantly higher grade on, say, Terrion Arnold than they would do any of these offensive or defensive linemen to take them. And look, the Cooper DeJean stuff is out there again today. People saying, he's an option, he's a fit. I mean, I honestly don't know where that comes from. And maybe they'll be proven correct, and maybe I'll be completely wrong and whinging about this in a few hours' time. But the guy just played cornerback. He was opportunistic. A lot of his interceptions were kind of like thrown straight to him, and did not see great hips to play cornerback. He didn't play safety, so it's all a major projection there. He's still recovering from an injury. Like, that is not an exciting pick for a team that constantly talks about and has done for years about being physical, tough, hit you in the face up front. The idea of taking another defensive back to relegate Tariq Woolen to the bench, or to just be in a stronger position to move Devin Witherspoon, he's been a top 5 pick on last year, to a hybrid role. I mean, to me, that it doesn't make any sense when the only investment that you will have made in the trenches as a consequence of that to actually add to what you had last year would be Jonathan Hankins, Laken Tomlinson, and George Fant. To me, that just is a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for losing in the trenches again, and being the kind of team that they keep saying they don't want to be, which is finesse. It would be up there again. Like, look, I didn't have a problem at all with their first round picks last year, but a quarterback and a receiver is very finesse in the 2 top 20 picks. And, when you look back in history, spending a couple of first rounders on Jamal Adams, and spending a pick on D. Eskridge, there's been a real trend there of finesse picks. And to come out the Russell Wilson trade with essentially no serious difference maker on either trench or a future at quarterback, and now this year under Mike Macdonald, if they were to go and invest in another defensive back with their top pick, especially if it's at 16, because then you're not picking again till 81, I just kind of feel like, to me, and I don't want to complain too much before it's actually happened, because it might be all a big fuss over nothing. But if they did do that, as a lot of people are suggesting, it would scream a little bit of thinking they know better than everybody else. Like, this is fine. Look at this guy and this guy, and well, these pieces in the defensive backfield. Yeah, it won't matter if the Niners and the Rams just come and kick the crap out of you in the trenches again. And I can't shake that Pittsburgh game in Week 17 where the Steelers just came to Seattle and ran the ball down your throat and pushed you around, and you couldn't get anywhere near Mason Rudolph, and he had an easy game. And you cannot be that team and expect to get anywhere. And you have to do something about that. You do. And if it gets to 16 and they take Terrion Arnold, and this is the thing, is when I look at these mock drafts, there's always, even when they trade, if you could say they could trade down to 22 or 25 or whatever, there's always like Verse, Robinson, Barton, other Robinson, they're all there. And there's no reason to sort of go with the cornerback. Like I say, they would have to believe that Terrion Arnold is unbelievably special to do that at 16 and not trade down over some of these defensive linemen and offensive linemen. And look, if that's what he ends up being, then fair play. In a couple of years, 2 or 3 years' time, those of us who will come, and boy, I will complain about it if it happens, we'll have to eat some crow. But I also think that if they draft a defensive back in the first round tonight, and then during the season we are again watching a team that can't defend the run, and just a quick reminder, Baltimore did not defend the run very well last year. They did not. Do not assume that they did. They did not. If they are getting their asses kicked up front again next year, or if that offensive line's a sieve, if you are not only kicking the can down the road at quarterback, but also in the trenches again next year, it'll just have felt like the last 3 years were a waste of time. And for what? To have big, splashy additions at receiver and cornerback / safety. To me, that's not how you build a football team. It just isn't. And it just bothers me a little bit. Like the talk tonight, like if you were, like this is the talk that we get as Seahawks fans. It's Jeremiah and Brugler saying Terrion Arnold. Meanwhile, the Niners get, I think it's Rossini reporting, they're going to trade want-away receiver Brandon Ayuk, who is in the good, not great category, who I don't think will play anywhere near as well when he's not in the Shanahan offense. They're going to trade him away in order to try and move up in the first round, probably to get an offensive lineman or a defensive lineman. And that the Rams are going to try and move up from 19 into the top 10, supposedly for Brock Bowers, who is one of the 7 best players in the draft. And yeah, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, and Brock Bowers and Matt Stafford. If you're a Rams fan, you're like thinking, oh, that's exciting. That would be exciting for them. That would be exciting. And if the Seahawks, if your dream is, Terrion Arnold and Devin Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen, but, can't run the ball and can't protect the quarterback and can't pass rush without being tricky and don't have a future at quarterback. I don't want to complain too much before this has actually happened, but I'm just reacting to what the internet is telling me. I think the internet should be banned before the draft. The day of the draft, no one should be allowed to put a mock draft out. You have to do it yesterday or not at all. And today, nobody should be reporting anything. Everyone should just be saying what they hope happens, not what they think happens, because then I will not get annoyed. And that is how it should be. I want this team to come out of this draft with clarity that they have committed to the trenches. So I don't care whether it's O-line, D-line. I just want to see some commitment to it. Even if that means they trade down and they trade down again and they go in a round 2 and they go with quantity over quality, I don't care. I'm not married. I know when we were with Jeff recently, said, 16, whatever, trade down, stay at 16, whatever. I just want to come out of this draft feeling like the Seahawks have committed to the trenches. They've invested in the trenches in this draft. That's how they're going to build. That's going to be the identity. And then the other thing I want to see is I want to see them draft a quarterback so that we can see that they are trying to find a long-term solution. To those 2 things, I'm happy. So I'm not talking about favourite players. I'm not banging the table for one specific player. But if they go defensive back with this first pick, and then what happens then? With the next pick, is it a receiver? Because that's also best player available. What do you do? It's okay saying, with your best player available approach. Yeah, okay, well, they can't just be for the first pick. And if you take a defensive back with your first pick and snub all of those defensive linemen and offensive linemen, I can't believe that they will be considerably lower graded than DeJean and Arnold and Mitchell and Wiggins and Kool-Aid and any of those. I just can't believe that. Not so much below that you would go, no, we're going to take the cornerback. I just don't understand that. And if you're going to do it that way, then how can you take the offensive lineman or the defensive line in round 3 if, let's say, a really cool receiver's still there? And then what is it the same as last year? DB and receiver with your top 2 picks? Like, come on, what are we doing here? You know, the Seahawks have had a lot of draft stock over the last couple of years, and they don't have an identity, and they don't have anything they can hang the hat on. Like, they brought in Mike McDonald. All the talk is very positive. Like, the interview that the Seahawks.com published out this week about, you know, what he wants to see from the defense, what they're going to do, is very encouraging. Like, do that. You know, build the trenches, be tough, hit people in the face, you know. Be a really uncomfortable team to play against. Don't be finesse. Like, and if you really want to be the Ravens, I copy the Ravens, copy the Ravens. The Ravens are tough as F, you know, like they are. And they have a great quarterback. And yep, they drafted Kyle Hamilton, who Lance Zierlein thought was the best player in the draft, and he fell to like pick 16 and they took him. Like, if the best player, like Malik Neighbors is on top of Lance Zierlein's draft board this year, if he's there at 16 and you take him, fine by me, whatever. Whatever, okay? You know, at least then you can say you got the best player in the draft. That's what the Ravens did that year. Their only other big investment at the defense back is Marlon Humphrey, like years ago, when they desperately needed a corner. You've already drafted Devin Witherspoon. Like, come on, guys. So I'm hoping, like I said, this is a big red herring to try and coax teams to trade up, and their plan is to trade down and whatever. I want to see some trenches. I want to see this team ugly and physical and aggressive up front, and I want to see them take the game to the Niners and the Rams up front. I don't want us to be finesse passengers on the Niners-Rams ride to the top two positions in the NFC West. Anyway, that's my thoughts. Let me know what you think. Like the video. Subscribe to the channel. I am going to give you my instant reaction video to each pick. We are going to do a live stream at the end of every day of the draft, so join me and Robbie for that. I'll give you the thoughts. Big opinions will be coming. Pucksports.com, I'm going to be on at the very start of the first round for about 20 minutes with Puck, so join us for that. Make sure you watch that live. SeahawksDraftBlog.com, doing a live blog throughout, so lots of reasons to make sure you've got a Seahawks Draft blog on your computer. Lots of reasons to subscribe to the channel. Let's get a few more of those, get closer to 10,000. Enjoy the draft. Please don't take a defensive back, Seahawks. And I'll speak to you in a few hours' time. Until then, bye for now.